Hi and welcome back to the channel. Today I thought I would bring you all of the reading challenges that have either caught my eye for 2025 or information about my own reading challenge, which I've set up in December over on the storygraph. It's called the Candy Reading Challenge 2025. One book per month. There's a prompt for every month. So I'm really excited to bring my prompts. I also, once I'd set that up, found a similar one over at Ben Reads Good. I'll link all of Ben's videos about his reading challenge. I just saw it and thought, oh my gosh, that's fantastic too. I've also joined that one as well, even though I've got my own up and running. So for me, the challenge for 2025, 2 reading challenges with monthly prompts, mine and Ben's. I also am definitely taking part in GothLitNovember again. I want to take part in Jane Austen July, I think it is. I might possibly look at Historithon. Anything that has caught my eye, I will link below. But in this video, I wanted to share Ben's reading challenge. I think it's Read Good Challenge 2025. I want to share all of his prompts and I'm going to share them alongside all of my prompts, because planning my reading for the year, I kind of realised that I could crisscross on some of the prompts. One book would do both of our prompts, and seeing as I took on the challenge of 2 reading challenges, that was a good thing when I could find one book fitting both of the challenges. So this video, it's a focus on Ben's reading challenge, the Read Good challenge. It's also a focus on my personal challenge that I've set up. Like I said, links to everything will be below. So without further ado, here are the prompts for this coming year. Here are the books as well that I'm looking at. Join in. It would be so wonderful to have you joining in here in the comment section or over on Ben's channel if you love Ben's prompts, or on both channels, or over on Storygraph, wherever you are. It would just be so lovely to have some of you join in. I did notice today that some people have already clicked on my challenge. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. I literally thought I was going to be doing it on my own, but as of now, as of filming, I've got 4 people. One of them's me, so 3 other people have joined. I am so excited at that. I just think even if it stays like a challenge with me and 3 others, that's just so wonderful. So anyway, enough talking. Here are the prompts and here are the books. So for January, for Ben's challenge, he is starting with Anne Ueri. Read a book with the word Anne in the title. My prompt is reopen, retell. We're reopening a new year and we get to retell our story again through the year. So I thought we could mirror that in our reading. We could reopen the year and start with retellings. So any fairy tale, any retelling, it can be one or the other. So this also fits in with my DIY literature degree study, an area of interest for me. I want to study fairy tales. So I thought I would start off not with Hans Christian Andersen, but with my Grimm's Fairy Tales book that I have got on the shelf. What I intend to do throughout my study is to try and find the well-known fairy tales through different writers, and then to study them in retellings. So in Grimm's Fairy Tales, there is Little Red Cap in here, which is the story of Little Red Riding Hood. I'm going to start the new year with a study of Little Red Riding Hood. My options for retellings, I have got Red Riding Hood, Believe the Legend, Beware the Wolf. This is a book by Blakely, Cartwright and Johnson. This is a book that my daughter had when she was younger, so this is a children's book. This is called The Wolf Wilder by Catherine Rundle, and this is a book that I bought at the end of last year. Hannah Witten for The Wolf, again another charity shop find. I think, to be honest, I may be starting with this one. It says the first daughter is for the throne, the second daughter is for the wolf, where the second daughter is also always sacrificed to the wolf. Sounds fantastic. So that is going to be my book for my challenge, but let me show you a few other things that I'm interested in reading throughout the month. I want to read this Way of the Fairy Shaman. It's a Shaman Pathways book. This is about working with the Fae, so this is a non-fiction. Also, I have this on my bookshelf, which I can't wait to read. Alison Davies, Fairy Tales Can Change Your Life. I also have another couple of non-fiction which I do want to read as well in January. I want to read The Hard Facts of the Grimm's Fairy Tales. So this looks absolutely fabulous. It's got sections like sex and violence, fact and fantasy, victims and seekers, born yesterday, spinning tales, from nags to witches, taming the beast. Sounds fantastic. And also, alongside any fairy tales I'm reading, I am going to be using this Oxford Literature Companions Guide as well for fairy tales. So if you want to join in with me, just find a fairy tale or find a retelling and join in with me. For Ben's pool of possibilities for Annuary, read anything with Anne in the title. So I ordered a couple of Anne Radcliffe books. I absolutely loved doing GothLitNovember last November, and of course Anne Radcliffe is one of the earlier writings of Gothic literature, and I really wanted to get to know her writing. Another area of study for my DIY literature degree is, along with fairy tales, it's going to be Gothic literature. So this year I really wanted to have a good go at reading Anne Radcliffe, so I ordered a couple of new books, which is really rare for me. I've got The Italian and The Mysteries of Adolfo. I think I'm going to read this for my January read for Ben's reading challenge. I did consider Dragonwick by Anya Seaton. There's an Anne there, you've got to give it to me. Found this in a charity shop. I still can't get the sticky off the back, which is annoying, but I think I might leave that for later on for GothLitNovember. I also found Anne Rice, Interview with a Vampire, along with a load of other Anne Rice Vampire Chronicle books in a charity shop, all for £1 a piece these were, but I've got Fang February coming up next, so I think that's going to be saved for that. A couple of non-fiction possibilities are my Anne Bradford books about haunted sites in the Midlands, because I am originally from the West Midlands and I now live in Worcestershire, which is in the middle of England. I might have a flick through these. I might even go on a couple of visits as part of Annuary for Ben's challenge, but officially it's this book that is going on the list. So for February, Ben's prompt is a book with fire on the cover, which I love, and for my prompt it's Fang February, so a vampire book. So I had real fun searching these out. So for me, for Fang February, I want to read Dracula, Bram Stoker's Dracula. I've never read it. This will tie into my DIY literature degree. An area of specialist interest is Gothic literature, so I've never read vampire books before. This will be an interesting start. For Ben's prompt, look, I found a retelling book with sparks on the front. I think that classes as flames, doesn't it? So this is Bridget Kemmerer's book Defy the Night, which I think is a retelling of, Robin Hood. My middle daughter bought me this for my birthday in November. Bless her, it's the first time she's had a little part-time job, and she spent her money on me in November. I'm just so chuffed. So it is a retelling. I'm doing that one in February. I also found this with candles on the front. This is off my art shelf downstairs. I also want to read more architecture, history, art and spiritual books as well throughout the year, so I really don't want to ignore non-fiction. So this is about Byzantium architecture and the time period. It's called Byzantium, City of Gold, City of Faith. I have had this on my art shelf for years and years and years, mostly used as an art resource. But all of a sudden I want to also read these art books as well. I've never thought to read them. I've literally just used them for the visuals all this time. This also fits in with Historithon as well, which is another reading challenge which I'll link below. The first quarter of Historithon, I think it's reading books up to the year 500, I think. But this one fits, so it allows me to take part in that as well, which is fun. So books with flames on the front, and Fang February, there we go. Okay, so we're up to March now. So Ben has got the Ides of March, which is something famous in Julius Caesar, where Julius Caesar was killed on the 15th of March, the Ides of March. So Ben has gone for 15 letters in the title. I have gone for books with moons on the cover, so Moonlit March. So it could be moon in the title, moon on the cover. It could be a book to do with the moon. I've also come at it from the idea of women being linked to the moon in spirituality, so any like woman's fiction or any book about women or something viewed through a woman's perspective. So you can come at Moonlit March from that angle as well if you would like. So for me, I thought let's have Wilkie Collins in Moonlit March for me, and I've found this copy in a charity shop of The Moonstone, a double whammy for me. It's got a moon on the cover and it's got moon in the title, so I am actually really excited to read some Wilkie Collins. This was a Wilkie Collins that I got in November for GothLitNovember, so this fits with Gothic Literature. I didn't get to it in November, and then I suddenly thought, hang on, The Woman in White has 15 letters in the title. So I could give Wilkie Collins a really good go in March, and I could not only do my prompt but also Ben's prompt. So that's what I plan to do. Also thinking about my DIY literature degree and that specialist interest study of fairy tales, I thought it would also be a nice month to then come at reading fairy tales from that feminist lens, through that feminist perspective. So I've got The Bloody Chamber. This is by Angela Carter to read. Bet on the Prince, contemporary feminist fairy tales in North America and England, and then feminist fairy tales by Barbara Walker as well, that I thought would be nice, and it would fit in not only with my study but with the prompts in March. Also non-fiction. This is a bit of a cheat because it's actually called Genius of the Fern-Loved Gully, but this is a book about Ethel Colquhoun, who is a fantastic artist, also linked to tarot as colour, you may know, is Ethel Colquhoun's tarot. I have this book and I've had it a while and I am desperate to read it. So if you just take her name, there are 15 letters in that name, so I'm cheating. I am taking the name, which is the only word on the side, as well as my 15 letters. That's for Ben's prompt. And a non-fiction for my prompt is To Ride a Silver Broomstick by Silver Ravenwolf. I have never read this classic. I just think it fits perfectly. There is a great big moon there. I'm desperate to read this classic. So those are the definite books for me for March. For me, I wanted to show you one of my Christmas presents. Look at this beautiful Oxford World Classics copy of The Merry Wives of Windsor. So for my Shakespeare reading, which I'm doing ongoing throughout the year, I thought I could leave this for March because look, it's got a moon on the cover. Isn't that just the most beautiful, gorgeous cover? I love it. Moving into April, for me, I thought about April showers and the weather we have here in England. So I thought, why don't I do an April showers prompt, any book with weather anywhere on the cover. And Ben's prompt was a book that's ever been nominated or won the Women's Literature Prize, so either for fiction or non-fiction. So I looked through what I'd got, and from a charity shop for 50 pence, can you believe it, I found Hamnet, which won the Women's Prize for Fiction in 2020. So this is by Maggie O'Farrell. Loads of you on the channel, the minute I started visiting the Shakespeare houses and reading Shakespeare, have recommended this book. So when I saw this sitting on my charity shop shelf for 50 pence, I absolutely pounced on it. So this is a fictional account of Anne Hathaway and her son, and I cannot wait to go on a Shakespeare adventure with this. I cannot wait to go out around the places where I live to explore and actually feel like I'm living this book. I'm going to take you with me in April. Hamnet is my book for Ben's prompt. Now for my prompt, I thought by April I should have finished reading David Copperfield, because I'm reading Victorian literature throughout 2025. I did want to do a study of Dickens. I'm going to start the year reading David Copperfield. I think when that is finished, I might do Bleak House next. So in April, I'm going to be reading Bleak House, and look, it's got a weather vane on the front of the cover. It fits perfectly for read something with weather in the title or in the theme or on the cover. Anyway, you can make weather fit. So these are going to be my two main books. I also, thinking about my non-fiction and wanting to read around art and art history, I have this David Hockney book. This is his etchings and lithographs. Again, I've had this book absolutely years. It's got a picture on the front of rain landing on the swimming pool. I would just like to spend some time with this book in April. I haven't read the introduction. Like I say, my art books have tended to sit on my shelves for visual reference, but why not read them as well? Why not feel like not only do I know my art, but I'm well read around my art as well. David Hockney is one of my lifetime favourite artists. I just think his stuff is amazing, whatever medium he's working in, whether it's photography, collage or etchings or drawings or oils. Oh my gosh, I just think he's fantastic. So that is going to be my April read as well. I went up to May. Now for my prompt, I thought about gateways, because May is often seen as a gateway into summer. So Gate May is my prompt. Ben's prompt is a deja vu prompt. So to read a book that you want to revisit, to reread a book. For me, my book kind of covers both prompts. So this goes along with my Victorian reading for my DIY literature degree. It's Dickens' A Tale of Two Cities. I suspect that I have read a part of this when I was younger. I can remember getting confused between, oh my gosh, A Tale of Two Cities and also, oh my gosh, another book, I've completely forgotten the name of it, and starting this and realising it wasn't the right book. So I have kind of read part of this, so it will be a partial reread, but it's also got a gate on the front for my Gate May prompt, so it fits perfectly, one book doing two prompts. Now for my Gate May theme, it can be a book like this with a gate somewhere on the cover, or it could be like a metaphorical gate, like a coming of age story, a transition from one stage to the next. So it could be held within the theme of the story. Really, I'm not precious about my prompts. If you can make them fit, then do it. My non-fiction, I'd love to read Sacred Art, A Hollow Bone for Spirit, where art meets shamanism. This kind of covers two areas of of study that I'm interested in, art study, but also spiritualism as well. This is by Imelda Almquist, and I thought this looked like a gateway, the way they were holding their arms. So it is loosely linked to my Gate May prompt as well. So those are the two books I'm really interested in for May. So we're up to June now. Now my prompt is Juicy June, so go for those big books. Forget about counting books and chasing numbers and reading those short little novellas to get your number count up. Why don't you sink into a big book? So Juicy June is our chance to sink into a big book, however long it takes. And Ben's prompt is Reading Shame Forgiveness Month. So to read a book that it might be a genre that you feel a bit embarrassed about enjoying, read it with no shame. Or perhaps it's a book that you lied about you've read and you feel bad about that and you want to go back and read it. Or a book that you feel ashamed that you haven't read yet. So it's a chance to forgive ourselves in June and also to read a big book. Now my book, look at this monster of a book. You can see it's got cracks on the spine. I have nearly read this book twice and each time I've got distracted. It is one of my all-time ever favourite artists. It's the biography of Georgia O'Keeffe by Roxana Robinson. I love it. I don't know why I keep getting distracted. Somebody actually said to me, a friend said to me, have you not read that yet? You've been reading that for ages. And I did feel a little bit ashamed about saying, no, I haven't read it yet. So it is tied up with a little bit of shame inducing that I keep starting this book and not finishing it. So it actually covers both prompts again. It's a juicy, fat monster of a book, and also there's a little bit of shame around it. And I thought while I'm reading it, I could also read off my art shelf some of the Georgia O'Keeffe other books that I've got, some of the more art-based books. She was just the most incredible woman. Oh my gosh, I often say to myself, what would Georgia do when I'm stuck? I also have this book as well of paintings and photographs, another one that I could read. So June for me could really be a Georgia O'Keeffe month for me. But then I also looked on my shelf and I went to other books, sort of kind of self-help books, also linked to art as a healing modality, to heal some shame that I am actually working through. If you've been on my channel for a while, you will know that I have spent the last 10 years having gone no contact with a very abusive family. I am the family scapegoat. It has been a tough old ride. I have a couple of new books on my shelf which I haven't read yet. Rejected, Shamed and Blamed, Help and Hope for Adults in the Family Scapegoat Role. I really want to read that. And then Karen Casey's The Good Stuff from Growing Up in a Dysfunctional Family, really centred around overcoming shame, which kind of fits in my own way. The Art of Healing, 12 step-by-step meditative art exercises for improved physical, mental and spiritual well-being. This is literally to help overcome shame. And then I found this in a charity shop about connecting more with your body, the language of the body. I'm not sure yet what it's about, but I think it is about connecting in with the body. And for me, a lot of my shame plays out around like body dysmorphia, eating disorders as well. I just thought that this might be an interesting read around that. A lot of healing going on, but what a beautiful selection for June around those two prompts. So July, my prompt is July heat wave. So any book that's hot, whether it's got suns on the cover, whether it's very summery in its theme, Ben's prompt was read a work in translation, and I found a book secondhand that is both. So this is Victor Jestin's Heatwave, translated from French by Sam Taylor. So this sounds like a great little book. It's only short. It covers both prompts. It's hot, hot, hot. There's even an umbrella on the front. So anything with an umbrella or a parasol applies for my prompt. It could even, my hot, hot, hot prompt, heat wave, be something spicy or emotionally hot as well. So that covers both my prompts. That's for Ben's prompt and for mine. Other possibilities for me, I am still going to be reading Dickens. I actually found a Dickens novel with a parasol on the front. So this is The Old Curiosity Shop. So I'm aiming for this one for around July as well. Also in July there's Jane Austen July, and I really, really want to take part this year. So look, I found a Jane Austen selected letters book with a parasol on the front, so even that fits. And I've been collecting Jane Austen in second-hand shops. I've got Pride and Prejudice. I think that fits in with the hot emotions. I've got Persuasion as well ready to go. Really excited about joining in with Jane Austen July. Really excited about Ben's prompt and mine. Lots of great books again in July. So August, my prompt is Uncanny August. Ben's prompt is to read any book that has won the Man Booker Prize. So, or the Booker Prize, I think. It could be either the Man Book or the Booker. My main read, which I think hits both prompts. I found this in a charity shop again in December for 20 pence. The Narrow Road to the Deep North by Richard Flanagan. Now this won the Man Booker Prize in 2014, and the title has got a road in it, a narrow road, which is very sort of liminal space, the uncanny. So by the uncanny is anything that's unsettling in literature. Think of liminal spaces, think of dark hallways with many doors off. Part of my fairy tale readings, which will be going on throughout the year, I looked at the cover of this Cruel Beauty, which I think is a retelling of Beauty and the Beast. That cover is very uncanny. It's like a never-ending staircase. It just goes on and on. You get the feeling. It can also be like a transition, like say a graveyard, a transition from life to death. It doesn't need to be a transition or an in-between, say with a journey or a road. It's being stuck in the in-between. So any transitional journey, whether it be physical or emotional, can put you in the realm of the uncanny. So anything set in graveyards would be really good for an uncanny read, because it's the transition between life and death. It's a physical place where life has become death. A non-fiction book that I thought would fit would be Art and Spiritual Transformation. Again, a very uncanny kind of image here of falling into circles, but that idea of the transformation of going from one place to the other. I also have Learning to Love the Spaces in Between, Discover the Power of Liminal Spaces. That is a non-fiction book I really want to read. Also, I grew up literally on the border line between Wales and England in Herefordshire. I lived right by Hay-on-Wye, the book town. And last year I started reading sort of books about life on the boundary line, the in-between. It's called the Tump, the boundary line where I grew up. We used to have parties, Tump parties we used to throw. This is a book that I haven't read yet. This is Sketches of Real Life in the Welsh Borders. So again, that kind of hits that idea of the liminal, the space in between. You're not quite Wales yet, but you're also not any more classed as England. That's where I grew up. Literally grew up in an uncanny space on a boundary line. So those all kind of fit. This is going to be my key book. which fits Ben's prompt and mine, but there's lots of good options there as well for August. So September, my prompt is back to school September, because all the kids in England go back to school in September. The new school year starts. Ben's prompt is Sapphire September, so read a book with a blue cover. So I've got a few books here. Now this one is probably the one I'm most excited about for back to school September, because we're getting into that kind of September, October, November sort of Gothic literature. Halloween's around the corner. I thought that back to school could be dark academia, and of course everybody is talking about Babel. So this is set with some students in Oxford. Of course, my entire desire to do a DIY literature degree was inspired by my day walking around the Oxford University colleges on open days with my daughter, who will be going to university next year. So Babel is set in Oxford. I cannot get Oxford out of my bloodstream. I've only been once. I only spent that one day there, and it floored me. I loved it so much. So I am thinking I might go on an adventure back to Oxford in September. I might read some of this book in the big library there. I might take you around the streets of Oxford with this book. So that is my dark academia book. Other possibilities are Anne Bronte. I've got Agnes Grey to read. This fits because it explores the life of a Victorian governess, so school days in the Victorian times. It fits with my Victorian literature. Not only do I want to explore Dickens this year, but I also want to read all the works of the Bronte sisters, so this would fit as well. For non-fiction, for me, going back to school, I recently stopped off at the Midlands Arts Centre, and I just couldn't resist this book. Now, this is a conversation between David Hockney and Martin Gayford. It's a conversation about pictures, a history of pictures, and so they discuss art history via different pictures. So it's almost like going back to school, hearing their conversation. So I'm going to put that in for me as well in September. For Sapphire September, look what I found in a charity shop. Drive Your Plough Over the Bones of the Dead by Olga Tokarczuk. Oh my gosh, I am going to butcher that name. I don't know how to say that. This sounds absolutely fantastic. So that would fit. Or I found this for 50p in a charity shop as well. Elif Shafak's 10 minutes 38 seconds in this strange world. This is a story that depicts the first 10 minutes 38 seconds after somebody dies, when their brain is still active, what goes on, and it sounds fascinating. So those are two definite picks for Sapphire September. And a non-fiction reading about Macintosh. I love Macintosh watercolours. I thought I could spend some time in September with these watercolours. For October, I thought I was really clever with my prompt for October. I went for a mixture of the words bear and octopus, which is read a book with an animal on the cover. Ben's prompt is October, I think it is, which is an ugly cover. Read a book with an ugly cover, which is going to be incredibly subjective, but it's all in good fun. So I found this book on my autumn shelf. So of course, October, we're in autumn now. We're in spooky reads, magical reads. It's also got an animal on the cover. It's also an ugly cover, I think. It's also a book that was on my autumn shelf. It's a book about witches and things, haunted ballrooms, bad weather, statues that talk, spells. Sounds perfect for October, and it fits both prompts. Thinking about my Dickens reading as well, this book also fits both prompts. It's a really ugly cover, I think, so it fits October. It's Charles Dickens' Martin Chuzzlewit. It's also got an animal on the cover. Look, there's a horse there. So that fits both prompts as well. So I might try and gauge my Dickens reading to be reading this one in October. For non-fiction, this also fits both prompts as well. You've got different animals on the front for the zodiac signs, so that fits my prompt. It's also a really ugly cover, I think, fits Ben's prompt, and it's also a classic in spiritual books. It's Paul Hewson's Mastering Witchcraft, a practical guide for witches, warlocks and covens. I can't wait to find out all the magic that is held between those pages. Perfect readings for October, I think. So November, my prompt is No Grey November. Ben's prompt is No Comfort November, but it's also GothLitNovember. So we need to be thinking Gothic literature, to be thinking that spooky autumnal feel around these two prompts. So for mine, No Grey November, it's because my birthday month is November. My birthday is the 23rd of November and I love the month, and I always get sad every year with people moaning about how grey November is. They hate November, and I love it. So let's have no grey. Let's have sparkly covers. Let's have colourful book covers as well. Look at this beautiful cover of the Essex Serpent. Anything that glistens, and look at that glistening. Anything that's super colourful. Look at the Macbeth edition that I got for Christmas. Isn't it gorgeous and colourful? So it still fits with that GothLitNovember theme though. The Essex Serpent by Sarah Perry I've had on my bookshelf for ages and I've never got round to reading it. I think it does fit in with Gothic literature, I think. So I've put that down for me. Also to read Macbeth. Now, Ben's prompt of No Comfort November is to read something out of your comfort zone. So I've got a couple of non-fiction books which again I think fit brilliantly in with GothLitNovember. This is a book about mushrooms and fungi and how they make and shape our world. It's completely out of my comfort zone. Not totally. I have read another book about mushrooms. I find them fascinating. I don't know enough about them. Mushrooms and fungi growing and like the deep of woods. It's brilliant for GothLitNovember. Has this anything to do with cemeteries or graveyards? So this is these silent mansions. It's part social history, part personal meditation. It's about a life in graveyards, so that is going to be out of my comfort zone as well. So some lovely reads to start to get me into GothLitNovember there. And finally, we've made it to December. My prompt is December, which is just anything off your winter shelf of winter reads. Ben's prompt is Decembros, so something about like a society or brothers or like a group of people. So for that, I thought we could make it round to December to another Dickens read of the Pickwick Papers. So this follows a group of gentlemen, I think, going around the country. This was Dickens' first novel. It tells the tale of the irrepressible Mr. Pickwick and his fellow Pickwick Club members who travel around the English countryside getting into all kinds of scrapes and adventures. So that's perfect for the Decembros, and it ties in with my Victorian literature reading and my Dickens reading. For non-fiction, I also really wanted to read about pre-Raphaelite artists and the pre-Raphaelite Brotherhood. So the group of artists, so Rossetti, Ruskin, they were all in the pre-Raphaelite Brotherhood. So it's literally a brotherhood. I love the pre-Raphaelite era of art. It's my very favourite era, and I just can't wait to find out more. I also have this pre-Raphaelite language of flowers as well, which looks at all of the flowers used within the pre-Raphaelite art, which I'm really excited to read. Also, hopefully by this December coming, The Pre-Raphaelite collection in Birmingham Art Gallery and Museum will be hung again. It's only just arrived back from America. I did go to the exhibition last month, to temporary exhibition that they've put up, which was absolutely incredible. Hopefully some of the work will be back in the permanent collection galleries as well for me to go and look at. Now, off my winter shelf for December is one I didn't get to last December. Gosh, I can't believe I'm saying last December now. But it's this Hans Verlade, Alone in Berlin, which tells the true story of an ordinary German living in a shabby apartment block. He tries to stay out of trouble under Nazi rule, but when he discovers his only son has been killed fighting at the front, he's shocked into an extraordinary act of resistance and starts to drop anonymous postcards attacking Hitler across the city. If caught, he will be executed. It's very cold in the theme, it's very cold on the cover. Perfect winter read. Emotionally, it would have just been so horrendous, emotionally cold. Can't wait to read that. So that's going on for my prompt. So that's it, guys. Books everywhere now around me. I hope you enjoyed seeing a breakdown of the two reading challenges that I am taking part in. Ben's reading challenge. I'll link Ben's channel below, and I'll link his storygraph challenge as well. Do go and join. I will also link my storygraph reading challenge as well. You can just click join, and then you can add in pictures of the books for each month that you want to read. It's really easy to use storygraph, and it's great fun. So those are the plans for the two reading challenges. Also in there I mentioned GothLitNovember. I also mentioned the Jane Austen challenge. I'm going to leave links to everybody that runs those as well. So Historithon I mentioned, I'll leave links to that. So whatever you fancy, whether it be mine, whether it be Ben's, whether it be Historithon, whether it be the Jane Austen challenge, whatever it be, you've got links to go and find out about it right at the start of the year. Let me know in the comments which ones you think you might be taking part in, and thank you so much for watching. I've had so much fun. Now, just to put all of these hundreds of books away now. Thanks, guys, and I'll see you next time. Bye.